verifiable. Now let's embark on this unique experience. So what is the Shroud of Turin? No. Music is for after. So, what is the Shroud of Turin? It's a linen sheet that measures about 1 meter 10 and by 4 meter 36, as you see. To represent what is it, I have a fabric. Is that like that? Can you extend it, please, just to see the size? What is it? Yeah, like that. Yes. You see? It's like that. Big. You see?
It was wrapped like this over his body, right?
Yes, exactly. We will see. We will see. You see, it's quite big, but it's very not heavy. It's in linen and very thin linen. It's not very heavy. This is in cotton. It's not. Yeah. Only linen. Linen. Sorry. Sorry. Thank you very much. Thank you. Alors, it shows the image of a man with traces of wounds corresponding to the crucifixion of Jesus of Nazareth, described in the canonical subject. You can put it there, don't worry. It's not the real one. You can put don't worry. It has been, the Shroud of Turin, it has been preserved since the 16th century in the Royal Chapel of the Cathedral of St. John the Baptist in Turin, since the 16th century. In fact, it's a sheet wrapping, as you say, the whole body to the deceased. Look, when you see, when somebody was dead, there it's a Christ, Jesus Christ. He was wrapped in this sheet, like that. It bears the deep footprints of front and back of man of about 1 meter 80. 80. 6 feet. In feet, I don't know.
You said 3 feet. So
3 feet, perhaps.
3.5 feet.
I do 1 meter and 81.
Okay.
You see?
And how many feet? How many?
I don't know in feet.
Well, 4 meters is about 12 feet, which is
Right.
I notice it for to have the answer. Can you write it, please? Okay. The silhouette is not discernible up close, but only from 2 or 3 meters, and in the darkness for a few minutes. You see? Do you see the man? It's difficult. You see, it's difficult. You need darkness and during several minutes. We will see better. Look, after being wrapped, you see the body was buried.
That 1.8 meters is 5'10".
Okay, thank you. We see here how he must have been after his burial, you see. On those close-up, we can see on the left the body seen from the front, and on the right, the body seen from behind. At the center, we distinguish at the top left the face, and at the bottom right the neck. One can also observe blood traces, trace of beating, injury. You see? I can. Yes, perhaps. Yes.
Is the body naked?
We will see. Yes. But is very pudic. Pudical? No. I don't know the word in English.
For what?
Okay. Okay, so I propose you to tell me a question, give the question at the end, because I have enough time. It's very difficult to say in 1 hour. Okay, so a photo taken in 1931 with a special light show better, you see, appreciate the details. We reflect a turbulent history. This includes the fire. There was a fire in 1532 in Chambéry, where he was miraculously saved. There was also arson in 1997. Trace of different burns. Note, because it's important later, the L-shaped hole. You see, I show you with my. Do you see the little? Yes. On there, tisonnier burns. Tisonnier. There is 4 holes. You see, 4 holes like that. It's important to the following. There is waters halo. You see some waters halo. There patch. There is hole because it burns, and there is hole. You see, but there is a lot of hole because it was fold, and it's the reason why the patch are. You see, there is patch there, because it was fold and the burn was at the corner. You understand? Okay. So his course now anticipated is the following. You see, he starts from Jerusalem, and after go to Edessa, Constantinople, Athens, and after to Paris, but from Lyre to Turin, we have precise, all the path is traced. We are sure of it from Lyre. He came in Lyre in 1356. You see? Since its arrival in Europe, dating back to around 1366, at the latest, the Shroud, of course, is perfectly traced. We will come back to it. So, since this date, there was multiple presentations to the public, called ostension. For example, you see some are from 15. Thank you. In 2010, for example, 2015, 2020, about 1 and 2 million people see the Shroud of Turin. All right? They show it during the COVID period. About every 5 years. It depends feet, but in mean it's about every 5 years. So, what was the trigger for the particular interest of this relic? Indeed, there are today many relics or artifacts supposed to be true or false. Why Shroud of Turin? There is a lot of shroud in the world, but why this one? Alors, do you know why?
Yes,
Can you tell me?
because it wrapped Christ.
Yes, but there was a lot of shroud with Christ. Not a lot of, but some. You see? Why this one?
There were pieces also.
I will tell you. Look, there is a man who called Pia II in 1898 who asked Vatican to do a photography of the Shroud of Turin. And it was the beginning of the photography. You see, we saw the man there, you see, with the big camera. There is a big camera, okay? And Vatican say, okay, you can take a photography. And when he takes the photography of, I just show there the head, okay? What is he? Alors, most of you know that photography at the beginning was not at today.
No.
how do you do a photography today? How do you do a photography? You take your iPhone and you do that. But when 20, 30 years ago, it was not like that. We take a photography. To take a photography like that, you have to do before a negative, like that. The negative is the inverse. It's a process to have photography. When you have done the photography in your camera, you give that to the photograph, and after with that, he can do the photograph. You see, it was like that before. So when he do the photography, what he see? Look at what he see on the negative.
Oh, wow. I think I see it. That's amazing.
This was the extraordinary discovery made by this Pierre Secondo. What he thought, it's a miracle. The shroud is similar to a negative. Okay. You can imagine the shock for the photographer in front of what he had just made appear, and that he was the first to discover. Miraculous. During 2,000 years, they look the shroud like that, and only 100 years ago, about 100, they discovered that no, the shroud is near a negative, and the real photograph is there. See, on the shroud. All eyes were then on this shroud, which presented with incredible sharpness the features of a man who have lived a crucifixion. Take a good look. You see that it's a positive, what we can see if you go to Turin, you can see that. Look at the negative.
Just popped out.
You see. And as you see, on the shroud, you can see a lot of details. And it's what we are now looking. But, in 1988, what is at the request of the Vatican, three laboratories, Oxford in England, Tucson in the United States, and Zurich in Switzerland, determined on the shroud a favorable place to take a sample in order to carry out a dating of the shroud with carbon-14, And what they conclude? The shroud of Turin was dated between 1260 to 1390. So, what calls they thought? Yes, it's a false. Okay. And this was relayed by the journal Nature. He concludes that it's a clever fake. And this information is then strongly relayed over all over the world by the media. And the public remains, so for the most part, on this idea. And this may be your case, but I don't think. I'm sure, no, you know. However, as you will see for yourself in the rest of this presentation, this version is now completely questioned by the recent work of scientists and historians. Paradoxically, this announcement had the effect of reviving the research we enjoy today. And in this we can rejoice. So I propose you to go to the second part now. What do scientific and historical studies tell us? Lot of things. If you allow me, let us now methodically take up the key elements at your disposal as for a police investigation, perhaps you look at film with police. Okay. The photo that we see, you see, is a very good photo because the particular light show a lot of detail. If I go more closer, you see, for example, the back, the end, and for that we can do a lot of conclude. We can. I just want to take an example. If somebody can come, just. Yes, you can come. Alors, can you yes go like that and put your hand like that? You see, like there. You see? Alors, I'm not sure, but because it's on the television, but normally you see there is blood, a trace of blood. You see the trace of blood? If I trace the trace of blood of your, it's like that. You see? Yeah. You're right. You see? It's trace. There is a V. Do a V. Why there is a V? Do you know where? No? Because where Christ was on his cross, how he was. I do mistake. It's because it's a negative. So it's the inverse. Sorry, but c'est comme ça. Voilà. There is two positions on the cross. There is two positions. You see? Because Christ was like that, and sometimes like that. It changed. There is two positions. And we can see that because of the V. Sorry, it's because inversed. The picture is inverse. But okay? So, thank you. Do you understand the blood go like that? Okay. In the low position, the condemned man asphyxiated himself and had to make a very painful effort to go back to get his breathing. In the high position, he was subjected to a stubborn pain and slept again. You see? Alors, in 1978, US-American people, good, a multidisciplinary team of 44 American researchers called the STURP, Shroud of Turin Research Project, equipped with 7 tons of the most sophisticated equipment, obtained the opportunity to carry out the analysis for several days. Some thought to settle the matter in a few minutes. Yes, some scientists tell, oh, in 2 minutes I will see if it's a fake. Because there is a lot of fake. You see, it's a painting. Okay, and we come back. Do you know how many hours of scientific studies were followed on the Shroud? Do you know? More? Give me a number. 500. 500, more than 500,000 hours of scientific research. It is the most analyzed object on the world, the Shroud of Turin. You see? They thought in few minutes do the conclusion. No, more than 5. Okay? So we have a lot of things. Now, what will be the question? What would be the question? If you are police investigator, what will be the... If we have 3 questions. The first question.
What form is the image?
What form is the image? Perhaps. Yeah? Yeah? Simply. F or T? False or true? False or true? Is it a false of the Middle Age or a true shroud of the 1st century? You understand? All right? That will be the first question. The second question, we will see after. We go. As you see, I put a scale. I put a scale. On the scale, there is for false. What is for false? What we have to say that it's a false. Do you know? We speak about it. What we have. We see. We have carbon 14 dating. It's a false. Okay? What we have to say, it's true. That is the question. Okay? We have one proof. No, not one proof. 4 proofs. No, not 4 proofs. 20 proof and more. I have not enough place to put everything. We have enormous, about 30 proof that it's a true shroud of the 1st century. Let us see now. I take, for example, the first one. We can see everything, but I don't think we will have enough time. I take this one, okay? This one. Alors. You see, that is the body, as we have seen, and especially the back, bears the trace of many blows, that corresponding to a flogging. All right? This representation illustrates how flogging was carried. You see, we saw a man, and we know that there was 2 executioners because the traces are not the same at the left and at the right. There was 2, at not the same size. Okay, but we thought they do the flogging with a flagellum. Flagellum. You need what is a flagellum? It's the thing you see, but without the end. Just comment? It's difficult because I can't show you, but you see the whip, but there was nothing at the end of each. Everybody thinks it was that, but we discover it was not like that. It was not a simple whip. It was that he called a flagrum Roman, a Roman flagrum. It's not the same. At the end, you see, there was small lead balls. You see the small lead balls? Yes. Much more dangerous, much more very, very... and how many traces there was? 120. 120. You see on the body there, the trace. Enormous. But in the Middle Age, they don't know that. We discover flagrum just few years ago, because they tried. But in the Middle Age, they didn't know that. And in the Gospel, they don't say. They just speak about whip. You see, it's covering 65% of the surface of the body. Extremely violent compared to the very modest evocation of the Gospels. It could have caused death by himself. Okay? In fact, everything in the Gospel shows that Pilate hoped to get him out of it only with severe flogging, whereas normally a simple mild flogging with a flagellum precede any killing. Indeed, the Gospel of Luke mentions, "I will therefore release him after chastising him." But the Jews, after refusing the liberation of Christ, shout, "To death, to death," to crucify him, as expressed in the Gospel of John. He therefore exceptionally had 2 convictions, while Roman law prescribed only 1 torture for a given fault. So let's go to another thing, very important. We saw the V, but as you see, where is the nail? Where was the nail? Not there.
No.
We discovered in the Shroud of Turin it was not there. Do you know why?
It wouldn't rip away.
Yes, exactly. A French surgeon I meet is a little son. The French surgeon is Barbet, Surgeon Barbet, do experience, and he showed that it's not possible to put the nail there. Romans know that because they do many crucifixions. But in the Middle Ages, they don't know that, of course. Look, if you see all the picture of Middle Age, they do the nail there. But it was not there. Do you know when there is thousands of crucifixion during the period of Christ? Do you know when they stopped crucifixion? Do you know? Only 300 years after Jesus Christ. So in the Middle Age, they don't know. They don't know how to do a crucifixion, but Romans know. You see? So it's a real proof. There's a lot of things to say. It's very the crushing of the nerve. According to the specialist, the pain would be unheard of. To get close to it, we must imagine what we feel when the dentist touch one of our nerves. Here, it's not a touch, but a crush. Suffer. So we can go to another proof. The third, the injury at the right side. Well, we know that, you see that there is the hole were there, and it's exactly the distance of a lance, a Roman lance. You see that exactly. You see? You see that? Mm-hmm. And it's a Roman who put. Where is your heart? Do you know where is your heart? At left or at right? Left? You're right. It's left. It's left. There. But Roman, where he do the blow? Not at left, at right. Do you know why? Because Roman have his helmet. Helmet? So? Yes, to protect him. So he do by right. Yes. They are used to do that. They do a lot of times. They know that. And we discover that exactly as in Gospel. Okay, there is a lot of other things. There is a shroud of the shroud. In the Middle Age, they do the shroud of thorn. You see, a very beautiful one. Mm-hmm. The reality was not exactly like that. It was Roman soldiers don't have time. They take thorns like that and put it on his head and put just roseau. Alors je sais pas comment on dit. You see like that, and we find 50 traces of blood on his head. In the Middle Age, they don't know that. Huh? So there is a many things. Pollen. Pollen is very interesting. You see, do you know what is pollen? Mm-hmm. It's a flower. It's very thin. We can't see precisely, but with microscope we can see like that. You see that each flower has its pollen. It's very interesting because pollen, when something, a shroud, go somewhere, the pollen go on it. You see, by the wind or by insect. So, if we know the pollen who are on the shroud, we can imagine where he was. You see? This man, which is a director of Germany police, in scientific Germany police, a very spend all his time to analyze pollen of the shroud, and you know very well. With Scotch, you see, with Scotch, he takes the pollen and after he analyzes. We can show some of the result. He finds 58 plants observed, and you have the origin of the plant. As you see, 45 come from Jerusalem and surrounding. In the Middle Age, they don't know pollen. Huh? Right, they don't know pollen. They don't know what it is, pollen. 45. But not only Jerusalem. We find also other countries. For example, Istanbul, Mediterranean basin. Remember the place you go. It's the same in the pollen. And of course, France and Italy. You see? It's interesting also because we have the dating with pollen. Because they found pollen, specific pollen, in the Dead Sea, from the dating from the Christ period. And we are found the same. Okay? It's not only the place, but also the dating. It's interesting with pollen. We find pieces. In the Middle Age, they don't know that. But in the first century, they place little pieces on eyes from the dead person. And with 3D, we will see after, they discover there is 2 places where trace of pieces. And we find the pieces. It's lepton, very cheap, not expensive pieces. But there was a problem. You see, one of them is Caesar. You see, Caesaros. But with a K on this shroud, it was a C. You see, rare, C-A-E. You see the C-A-E? And you see where was the, they called that, it doesn't matter. It was that, okay? But there is a C and not a K. They, archaeologists try to find, and they find 3 pieces with a C and not a key. And the pieces are dated exactly for the Christ death, 3 years. These pieces, lepton, was done during 3 years. During we have a dating. You understand? Well, so they find also scientific who are analyzes letters and find word Nazarene, Jesus sentenced to death. As you see on the back, there is a mat. It's specific to the Jewish of 1st century. You see on the back, you see the mat. Also, it's very interesting to see the shroud, the fabrics. It gives us a lot of details. Very interesting. First, the seam of the upper bands is very particular. There is a special sewing. You see, it does not exist on any old fabric from Europe, but it was found on remains of fabric during the excavation of the fortress of Masada. We just found one special sewing like that in Masada. Masada, you know where is it? It's a Jude fortress near the Dead Sea. However, this fortress was destroyed by Romans in the year of 73. You see, you have a dating. So it can't be Middle Age. It's only, you are sure that, you see. Also the fabric, how it's fabric, show that it's a way of 1st century. You see. I go faster because I don't want to be late. I am good?
It's about 10 till.
Okay, 10, okay. For example, the fabrics, bleaching was done after weaving. They analyzed it and verified that bleaching was done after weaving, but that it was stopped about 3 centuries after Christ. Today, when you have linen fabrics, its bleaching is done before weaving. It's another way to date, you see.
All fabric,
All fabrics.
not just linen.
All fabrics. You learn me. Okay.
I work for
Very important, very important, the blood. Very important, the analysis reveals that it is real blood, which passes through the tissue in some place. The blood is positive, contrary to the image. The blood is positive. There was a question who asked a lot of scientific, why the blood is so red? And some of them don't believe it's a real one, uniquely because the blood was too much red. When you have blood on you, if you have a cut, you have to do a cut, your blood, after several hours, it will be black. It will be black, you understand? But there, 2,000 years after, is yet red. Why? Do you know why?
Okay, yes.
It was because they find it was bilirubin. What is bilirubin? The abnormally red color from dried wool is explained by the high presence of bilirubin, which is a component of the bile of the liver, and which manifests itself during an extreme torment experienced. So, there is a perfect conformity with anatomy, physiology of circulation and blood clotting. We don't know that in Middle Age. There is no image under the blood flow. So the image was therefore imprinted on the tissue after the blood image. Okay? To which it is closely related. Okay, I go faster. It's interesting. The blood type, the blood type, is most likely AB plus. AB plus. Somebody here is AB? Is you are? You know? Is somebody is AB here? You see, nobody. Only 3% in the world are AB. But Jewish population. Oh, sorry, I didn't see. 3%. Yes, 3%. One on about 3. Only relatively common within Eastern Jewish ethnia. Okay. Alors, the image. It's very interesting. The image. The nature of the image reveals that it's not a painting. It's very important. It's not a painting. Some people say, "Oh, Shroud of Turin, it's a painting." No, they don't know what scientists say. They analyze it with microscope, very precise. It's not a painting. What is it? How was the image? The image is a consequence of a chemical reaction of oxidative dehydration. It's difficult. It's simple. It's like caramelization. If you take sugar and you put on the flame, it becomes caramel. But it's near the same. You see? And there is only one color for all the shroud. Okay? There is no pigment, binders, trace of brushes. The properties are very. I don't explain them. I have no time. But there is a lot of property, and we can't do this image today with all technical, we can't arrive to do the same image. We can't arrive. It's not finished about the image. The image is in 3D, in 3D dimension. We discover that two scientific discover that it's the unique image we have with 3D like that. That means what 3D? You see on this photograph, positive, negative, but with combination of two, we can see this woman. We don't see nothing, but on the shroud you see relief. Huh? Okay, yeah. That show the 3D. In fact, the body was near the shroud. You see, like there. Oop. The most the body was near the shroud, the most the color was strong. The most it was far from the shroud, so it indicates the distance. Okay. A Frenchman called Thierry Castex, a scientific, takes the image of the shroud and give him in 3D. Look. And the back. You see? Impressive. We can touch him today. But Thierry Castex, it's only 20 years ago. 2,000 years ago, during 2,000 years ago, they see the negative. From about 150 years, we know that it was a negative, and we have the image of positive. And only from 20 years today, we have the 3D dimension. It's not an accident, I think. Look. So, how was done this image? How was done it? To explain, it's difficult. We can't understand what today scientific can't understand how the image was done. The image was done by the body himself. By the body himself. It's the main conclusion. The body himself. How it was? Perhaps it was like that. Look. Incredible. You see, the body does the image in this way and in this way. It's octagonal in the two way. Only God can explain that.
He does that a lot.
But yes, we have explanation. We try to have explanation how the image. There was physician, nuclear physician, who explained that the image can be from the radiation, yes. Radiation plus radiation, yes. Okay, so we have also proof of historic presence before Middle Age. I can't tell you, we have no time, but we found now a lot of things. For example, Hades. There is the Hades image. We thought it was just the face, but they take the shroud and fold him and just let the face. So we thought it was just the face, but no, it was all the shroud. Probably, very probably. And there was Hades was the first country, Christian country. I didn't know when I learned that, but Hades was the first Christian country. Sanli Urfa today in Turkey, and after he go to Constantinople, and we have traced text of that. And we say the mandillion, le mandillion. Voilà. I can show you some example. Okay, so we have proof historical. I can show you that it was a representation of Jesus before. He was young, you see. But at one time, it changed completely the representation. He was more like that, like the shroud. You see? But before, the representation was, they represent him young, without beard. And this. Okay, we have two proofs historical. I show you Codex de Près, which is dated for before carbon-14 dating. You see? So if it's the shroud on the Codex of Près, carbon-14 can be good. You see? It's the shroud of Turin. That. Why? You speak of nudity. Yes, but we have nudity, which is exceptional. In the representation, we have no nudity. But on Codex of Près, yes. We have hidden thumb. I didn't tell you, but when you put the nail on the desktop space, you see, you can feel. Take your wrist. You feel a hole there. Do you feel the hole? Mm-hmm. It's the desktop space. When you put a nail there, your thumb do like that. The surgeon Barbet finds that. Yes. Look at the Codex Près. Where is the thumb? Do you find the thumb? You can't find it. It is hidden. Okay? No thumb, like the shroud. The same crossing ends. Fabric folding. Trace of blood, like shroud. But the most chevron sheet structure, like in the shroud. But the most look the hole. You see, at the beginning of the presentation, I say 4 little hole. You remember? Mm-hmm. We find them on the Codex of Près. You see the 4 hole? This is an agrandissement, wide. You see, we have the same 4 hole. You see? Mm-hmm. It's unique. Another, and last one. Saint-Mandillion, I explain you the face. But they find that at the beginning of 2,000 years ago approximately, they show the face, but they put the face in a grillage, with grillage autour. I don't know how you say grillage. It was hidden. There it was hidden. There it was hidden. We just see in a row or a circle, the face, but the rest was hidden. And look at the 3D dimension, the shroud. What it done? Do you see the circle around the head? You see that? We can see that with the 3 dimension. Exactly. Yes. Impressive. Okay. So, let's come back. You see, we have a lot of proof. And there is many other. So, is it a false? I think no. I'm sure of it. 3 months ago, an Italian Professor Fanti, it's an Italian scientific, do a new way of dating based on the linen. I give you just that, and after we go to another part. Yes. In April 2022, the new method used by X-ray is wax. We mean wide-angle X-ray scattering. Proceed from the same approach to determine determine a law of structural degradation of cellulose. And it's based on a dozen fabrics of linen. Some of them are 3,000 years ago, you see. And he analyzed all the fabrics, about 12 fabrics, different fabrics, and he do a mathematical law of degradation. And after, he has some little piece of fabrics of the Shroud of Turin, and he can date. And what was the date? The period of Christ. So it's a real scientific dating. So we have very lot of proof. Okay. So now, what would be the second question? What would be the second question? I help you. Who is the Shroud man? I think I have not to spend too much time with you. You know. But is it Jesus Christ or not Jesus Christ?
Yes.
But if I am scientific, it will be the question. Why Jesus Christ? You see, the Shroud of Turin. It's only me. I can show you there only three proofs. One. If you look at the face, you see there is a lot of blow. You can see it. There is blow there. There was shot. Okay. The beard was too arrashed. We can see that. The nose. You see. Another thing. We didn't show the shoulders. Very interesting. You remember we speak about the whip with leads at the end. We can look that it's a red infrared photography of the back. Look, we saw exactly the two leads. You see at the back.
How many did you say there were wounds on him?
120. 120. You see perfectly. But they saw also that, look, at this, the blood is you see? That means he wear something on his shoulder, the cross. Some people, some scientific think the cross was like that. I think, I'm not alone, that he wear really the cross. But he wears the cross, you see? Okay, so it was the second question. Jesus Christ. I don't speak about aragonite. It's they found on his knees, on his nose, little calcaire, poussière, dirt. Yes, earth, but earth from Jerusalem. That means he followed. He followed. You see. Il tombe, enfin je sais pas comment on dit en... Quoi? Il follow? Ouais. He fell. Yeah, he fall. He fell. Okay. Also we find, you see that, what is it? Myrrhe et aloès. You see, when they find myrrhe et aloès on the shroud, a lot of myrrhe aloès, it's what the woman give to the body. Burn, yes, when they burn. Okay, they found that. Okay, so we are sure it's Jesus Christ. What would be the third and last question? I am good on time? No?
No, but it's okay.
What would be the last question? Sorry? What does that mean? We will answer this question after, but I am always in the second part of scientific. What would be? I help you. Is it a proof of the resurrection? Have we a proof of the resurrection? What we have? On the real resurrection or not resurrection? On the resurrection, what we have? This. I can explain. There is no trace of flesh putrefaction. You know, when somebody is dead, about 30 or 40 hours after his death, the flesh began to be putrefaction. In the shroud, the scientific say there was no putrefaction. Why? Second one, contactless print removal. What does that mean? That means two things. The disparation of the body was done without contact. And for example, if you are wounded, you have blood. Okay, you put techniques. Non, c'est technique, un pansement, bandage. You put a bandage on it. You wait 1 hour, and after you over the bandage, what will arrive? Very, you see, because all the flesh is scrapped. There, no trace of scrapping. Another thing, if Jesus had remained in this shroud, it would not have reached us. Why? Because in Jude use, 1 year after a death, they take all in the tomb, in the buried, and just let the bones. And in the shroud, they burn everything. But there we have the burn. We have the shroud. And singular, we can't find a thing, an object like that anywhere. It's the only object we know like that. With the image, we can do this image. We can explain this. It's singular. Not made by man. In Greek, we say archeopoiet. Supernatural. Image come from the body himself. Image come from the body himself. It's funny because I think it's funny because you have the carbon 14 dating who want to prove that it's false, but in truth, perhaps it will be an element to imagine that the resurrection, because there is radiation who can explain why the shroud is younger. You see, and radiation could be resurrection, a way of resurrection. You see, it's funny. Voilà. So, but that said, an image on a shroud, even not made by man, cannot be, in itself, a proof of the resurrection. The resurrection can only be conceived in the light of the Gospels. He sees and he believes. Voilà. So, I was just, my wife looked me, I go away.
Don't worry about it.
Just 5 minutes on this part, and after, it's all right?
Please do.
It's fine, go. It's good.
What does this tell me, and this tell us and you today? Just one slide. I want to. I would just want to say It's my opinion. Good news. Good news. We can see the death, the injury, but it's also a lot of good news. You see, we can see a deaf man, but we can see also a man who is alive. You see, it's a resurrection. So there is positive and negative. It's funny. Huh? So good news. Why good news? First good news. God exists. God exists. We are not the result of chance. God really exists. He is Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Trinity, one God in three persons. Only God could have such a singularity. Inconceivable for a man. Jesus was resurrected to save us. He is truly resurrected, really. Second good news, which is said in the gospel, is true. I remember when I was 15, people tell me, oh, gospel, it's false. It's man many years after who speak, and they no. All is in the gospel you find in the Shroud, and all is in the Shroud you find in the gospel. I didn't, after reading and seeing a lot of things about Shroud, I didn't read the gospel the same. You see, it's really like that. So it's a good news because we have gospels. We could have a God who don't say anything. If he wants, he was not obliged to tell us what he thought, what he think. You see, we have the chance. We have is what he wants to say to us. It's a chance. Second good news. God is infinite love. We could have a God who don't love people, but he loves very lot of. He gave us his Son for us. And we saw how he suffered. And he knows that we must imagine how he suffered. Everything was announced by the prophet. Jesus knew what awaited him when he came to Jerusalem. And yet, he was at the end of the torment. Concretizing himself what he taught to know, that there is no greater love than to give one's life for those one loves. Third good news. Every man who believes in him will have eternal life. It's not me who says that. Every man who believes in him will have eternal life. It's Jesus himself who tells us this. He is the way, the truth, and the life. We are extraordinarily fortunate to have already approached this happiness by being baptized, by worshipping, by communing with his body and blood every day, if we wish, and by trying to live as he taught us. Dear friend, let us carry this incredible good news around us. I would just take an image to finish. It was an image that a priest give us. Imagine that you are a slave chained on a dock, you see, with many other slaves. And suddenly, you discover the master key that allows you to free yourself from your chain. After freeing yourself, will you also free your chained comrade, or pass by them without worrying about their fate? It's kind of the same with all this good news. Are we going to keep this only for ourselves, or proclaim it also to all of those who are in your hands. Today, it's not an accident. Thank you. So, just 10 minutes, if you want, to finish by what I know, what is a contemplation. After we can ask questions rapidly.
How involved were you in research into Turin?
Alors, perhaps you can ask questions, and some expert, there is some expert there, and can answer this question. But I don't understand the question.
You said you studied the Turin for 15 years?
Yes, but I'm not an expert.
How have you been in front of the Turin, or is it all studies?
Alors, this question is often asked to me. We didn't go to Turin. I didn't need that, because. But if we go, I will be pleased to go, of course. But with my wife, we don't have the opportunity to go. But I would like to go. But I think I don't need exactly, because the Shroud is very interesting, but it's not the most important for me. For me, the most important is there. The reason why I don't want to hide, you see. We are here, there is Christ. You see,
I have studied this myself when I was a young man, and what I can understand, all the evidence shows from the Shroud that this is the Shroud of Jesus Christ. The only thing against that disavows it is a carbon dating that shows it was in 1304.
yes.
But that carbon dating was done in 1898.
Yes.
And I don't think they had perfected all that at that point, that they could actually identify the exact dates. So I believe that this is the Shroud of Christ. Yes.
I don't spend time about carbon-14. We have today a lot of explanation why it was dating like that. I have no time, but it will spend 1 quarter to speak about that. There is a lot of explanation. They just give us the result just in 2017. Very later after. Why they did? And when we have the result of the carbon-14, there is a lot of difference. So it's one question, but there is another lot of explanation, you see. Okay, the other questions? Yes?
It's followed me for years. How is the face so defined when the cloth would cover, the eyes are sunken in? Why are the eyes so defined? Did they press the cloth against the face, the eye?
I can't explain exactly, because the Shroud was like that, you see, when the body, it was not like that, it was like the photo, okay? I'm sorry, I can't explain more. Perhaps to finish, I will show the meditation, 10 minutes in music.
Yeah.
I think it's important if you... perhaps we can close the light. Reduce light. Yes, please.
Turn the lights off.
10 minutes, 10 minutes. Ah, c'est 10 minutes. Voilà. Difficile de couper. Hein.
If you've got a few minutes for questions, does anybody else have any questions?
Voilà, si vous avez d'autres questions, mais je crois qu'on est assez pressé.
Or do you need to leave?
Voilà, on doit y aller. Ah oui, oui. So, I forgot to speak English. Just few questions because we have to go at I have.
Well, we don't want to be too late, but if there's any other questions, anybody have any more questions?
My wife is married.
Your wife is married?
No. No, she's married.
So, a couple of things that Eric probably you would have said, but one of the proofs, he had all those proofs over here. The fact that the image on the shroud had been flogged, that was actually pretty uncommon to flog somebody and crucify them. It was usually one or the other. So for the body that was in the shroud to have that evidence of being flogged points to the scriptures that we have, today. So, there was a whole bunch. Remember this side, you had a whole bunch of things over here. You didn't talk about all of them, but so there's a lot of those kinds of things that Eric pointed out a few of them, but that that it goes beyond. There's a lot of good books about the shroud. They talk about a lot of different theories, a lot of different.
There's a very good French book, Pierre de Rive Maten.
Can you get it in English?
Yes, but it's in French. I will ask him if I think it's a real interest to do it in English. So I think it will be in English.
Okay.
But it's very scientific, and well-being, and very with rigor, scientific rigor. Very. I use a lot of.
So there are a number of things along that line, but one last thing I wanted to talk about. I read it not in that book, but a similar book. How many of you, August 6th was what? The anniversary of what? Old folks month.
August 6th.
Hiroshima.
Okay.
Hiroshima.
Yeah. So I don't know how much you know about that, but when the atomic bomb went off, the light from it burned the shadow into the sidewalk of people that were walking by. And so, as he mentioned, the radiation and the light, that amount of light that came from him coming back from life, put that image on the cloth. And like he said, nobody has been able to replicate that. Nobody has come up with a way that says, how did this happen? It's just one of many theories of how it happened. It was just so bright that it burned the image into the cross. But anyway, Eric, thank you so much. Beatrice, thank you for your time. This has been great. I think everybody enjoyed it.
Yes.
We had some good food.
Thank you.
Sorry I let you get behind, but it was just interesting.
So we'll say a quick prayer. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. The Lord be with you. And with your spirit. May Almighty God bless you, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Thank you. What time did you show up?